Parikrama Sadgurum Vande Shri Krishnan Tadanantaram Guru Kasturi tilakam lalat patale vakshasthale kaustubham nasagre Karatale Venu Kare Kankanam Sarvange Harichandanam Sulalitam Kanthe Chamuktavali Gopastri Pariveshtito Vijayate Prahnoti tasmai Tattvamha devamatma buddhi prakasham Mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. Dear devotees, we'll have a few minutes of Harinam Sankirtan, and after that we'll continue with Shri Krishna's Leelas of the Bhagwatam. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Radhe सरकार की Yesterday, in the first part of this series on Shri Krishna's Leelas of the Bhagwatam, I started by explaining why we listen to Shri Krishna's Leelas. They were recorded in the Bhagwatam by Vedavyas, who is a descension of Krishna himself. In another form, Shri Krishna came as Vedavyas. And he rewrote all the scriptures, in fact. And after having done all of that, after that, he produced the Bhagwatam as his final work. And one of the things that makes the Bhagavad the most special and most important scripture is that, for one, he explained all the main Leelas of Krishna's life chronologically, which was not done in any other scripture. Although the descriptions are there, but not his whole life, from his appearance to his disappearance. Of course, it's impossible to explain every single Leela of Shri Krishna's, but the main ones are explained in the Bhagwatam. And not only are they all put in one place in chronological order, but the style of the description, not meaning the poetic style, but what's imbued in that description is unique in the Bhagwatam, because the actual ras, the actual bliss of those Leelas is in that description in the Bhagwatam. Like if a saint is looking at one of Shri Krishna's Leelas, yesterday we were talking about his birthday celebration. So let's say one of us had gone to Braj during that time. We had gone to Gokul on that day and we'd seen that birthday celebration. We would have seen that there was a lot of excitement and that the chief of the village, Nanda Baba, had had a son born to him. So everybody from miles around had come in great excitement to celebrate. We would have seen the excitement of the occasion and how festive it was. We would have enjoyed that part of it. But what was really in that Leela, only a saint could know. That through that Leela, it's like Krishna's drenching Braj with divine bliss, with that ras, just like it's pouring down. So those saints are enjoying it and they're absorbed in that. Like when the gopis were playing, kind of playing holy with the makhan and dahi and doodh and ghee during Krishna's birthday, they weren't just having fun. They were truly from inside so excited that Braj ras bechan wale aaye hain Braj mein, and that topmost ras of the divine world, the seller or the giver of that ras has descended in Braj and he's freely distributing to all. So that's what they were excited about, not just that it was a festival or a fun time. They were excited about something we couldn't see. So that's the thing that is in the Leelas, which only a saint can experience in its fullness. And that same thing is in the description in the Bhagwatam. So it's not like a dry description of Krishna did this and Balaram did that and gopis did that. The actual ras of the Leela is in there. That's why someone like Madhusudan Saraswati, who was a Jnani saint, a realized saint, after having attained formless God, after that he had a desire to know about Krishna's Leelas. And after being God realized and knowing God, but not having experienced Krishna's Leelas, he went and he started reading Bhagwatam. And by reading Bhagwatam, he actually experienced the ras of those Leelas, and in the end he attained Krishna. That's why the Bhagwatam is also called the Paramahansa Samhita. Paramahans means one who is totally absorbed in the bliss of God already. So those Paramahansas who are already at that level, they want to drown their mind in the bliss of Krishna's Leelas that are recorded in the Bhagwatam. Now, although we're not at the level of a saint, that we can hear those Leelas and actually experience the full divine bliss of that Leela, yet there's still value in us hearing them. The value is mainly in two things. On one side, we can experience something. It's not that we experience nothing from Krishna's Leelas. The saint is experiencing everything. The full ras, whatever is in that Leela, a saint experiences. We don't experience that, but we experience something based on the purity of our heart, based on our surrender and faith to Shri Krishna. We do experience something in the Leela. So we're getting something, some kind of experience. And in addition to that, just by faithfully listening to or remembering Krishna's Leelas, we're purifying our heart. So by doing that, in fact, although we're not fully qualified to hear the Leelas, because we hear it and we don't realize what is the actual ras in that Leela, yet by listening to the Leela we will become qualified. The method of becoming qualified to experience the ras of a Leela is simply hearing and remembering and thinking about that Leela. Because the Leelas themselves have a purifying force, and the only thing we need to do is just faithfully hear it or sing it or remember, meditate upon it. That in itself purifies the heart of a devotee. And he gradually, as his heart purifies more and more, experiences more and more of the bliss of those Leelas. And eventually he fully purifies his heart. And through Krishna's grace, he receives a divine heart, divine mind, divine body and senses. Then he visualizes the actual divine Leelas of Krishna. When a saint reads Bhagwatam, it's not like a story for him. If the saint reads Bhagwatam, he's in that Leela, like it's happening and he's right in it. So we will get to that point. But to get there, we have to do our devotion. And devotion means hearing and thinking about those Leelas. So I'll continue with the description of Krishna Leelas in the Bhagwatam. I told you that after Shri Krishna's birthday celebration, a few days after that, Nanda Baba had to go to Mathura. Kans ruled Mathura at that time, the demon Kans. And he demanded a tax, a yearly tax, from all the residents of Mathura district. So Nanda Baba had to go and bring a tax on behalf of his village, the village of Gokul. Since he was the chief of that village, he brought a certain tax to pay Kans every year. So a few days after Krishna's appearance and his birthday celebration, he left Gokul in the hands of the other elder gopis who were there, other gwals. And he and a few other gwals left for Mathura. Then they paid the tax, and Nandaji was staying there in Mathura, and while he was there, Vasudevji heard that, oh, my good friend and close relative Nanda has come from Braj, and he's staying in Mathura, so I have to go and meet him. He had in his mind that I'll hear about Krishna and Balaram. He can tell me, how are they doing, what kind of Leelas are they doing. So he came to the place in Mathura where Nandaji was staying. And Nanda Baba was so happy to see him. He welcomed him and showed him proper respect, offered him a seat, and the two of them started talking. Of course, he told him all about how young Krishna and Balaram were. Then they had some more talks. Vasudevji was saying that, you are all my family, yet I'm separated from you. I'm here in Mathura. And he says, this is just life. This is destiny. That according to someone's destiny, sometimes they're with their loved ones, sometimes they're separated from their loved ones. And then Nandaji said, yes, and look at how much suffering you've had. Kans killed your first 6 children. The 7th, you had Balaram, you had to send away to Rohini. And then the 8th, Yogamaya, she flew up into the air, and you're left with no children. So he says, they were just talking, like saints do. They're just talking, exposing the true divine philosophy. So he says, you see how this happens according to the destiny? He said, people come in this world, and sometimes things happen the way they want. They get enjoyments and pleasures from their life. And they like that. And sometimes very bad things happen, and that causes them suffering. So Nanda Baba was saying to Vasudevji that, this is all because of the destiny, past lifetimes' actions. Purva janma kritam karma tad bhagyamiti kathyate. Our previous lives' actions fructify as our destiny in this life. So because of that, sometimes our destiny gives us things that bring us pleasure, and sometimes our destiny brings us things that things that cause us pain. But the one who knows this, that pleasure and suffering in the world is because of one's destiny, because of one's past actions. If something good happens and you get some pleasure in your life, you don't become too animated or agitated that, oh, I got something good. You don't feel proud and you don't feel too much hope of holding on to that thing forever. You realize, it came because of my destiny, okay, we'll see how long it stays. And if something bad happens that causes you suffering, you don't grieve because you realize this just happened because of my destiny. So the two of them were just having talks like this. And then Vasudevji tells Nanda Baba that, you know, I think I'm really enjoying having this talk with you, but something is going on back in Braj. You better head back. So Nanda Baba was thinking, what could be going on? We better get going. Okay, so he and the Gwals, they loaded up their bullock cart and they started heading back to Gokul from Mathura. So what was happening back there in Gokul, Kans had a relative named Putana. Putana was a terrible Rakshasi, a demoness. Very fearsome. She terrorized the whole land. In service of Kans, she used to do one thing: go around eating small children. That's what she did. That was what she was known for. So it is said that where did she go? She went in those houses where God's name wasn't chanted. That's where she went and did her business, did what she had to do. But on this particular day, she had been sent by Kans to find Krishna. He says, I know that 8th child of Vasudeva and Devaki. Yogamaya told me that that child has been born and is somewhere in Braj already. So Putana was his first effort to send someone and try to find where is that child. And I want him killed before he grows up and he can kill me. So Putana could go wherever she wanted just by flying through the air. And she could also make herself look like anything she wanted. So she came close to Gokul village and she took the form of a beautiful young woman. She was dressed very nicely, she looked very beautiful, and she just entered the village and everybody was kind of mesmerized by her beauty. So much so that she just came direct to the house of Nanda Baba. Although he was gone, but Krishna was there. Rohini was there, Yashoda was there, some servants. So she just came and she entered directly in the house and nobody stopped her because everybody was just looking, amazed by her beauty. So she walked right in the house, and just like a person picks up a rope by mistake, picks up a snake by mistake, thinking it to be a rope, so they don't realize the danger. That, oh, it's just a rope, and they pick it up, but it's actually a snake, and it bites them, and they die. In the same way, she saw baby Krishna, 6 days old. Only 6 days old, baby Krishna, lying there in his cradle. Now, normally, no one would allow a stranger to just come in their house and pick up their baby, but they were all just amazed by her beauty, so she was able to walk right in, pick Krishna right up out of the cradle, not realizing that she was picking up her very death. So she picks Krishna up, and of course, Krishna had made sure, because Krishna resides in the heart of everyone, even Rakshasis like Putana. So he made sure when she was coming, looking for him, that she didn't go to any other house and eat any other young Gwalbal, that she comes straight to my house first. So she entered the house, picked up Krishna, and Krishna closed his eyes and did like this. Made his brow like you do when you're angry. So there's a secret in that. What was he doing, young Krishna? See, Putana was going to hold Krishna to her breast, which she had smeared with Kalkoot poison, a most poisonous vish that like kills on contact. And she was going to nurse Krishna and try to kill him in that way. So before Krishna started nursing, he closed his eyes and he called God Shiva. He said, I came here to drink nectar-like milk of Mother Yashoda and to eat makhan and curd and dahi. I didn't come here to drink poison. Shankarji, you like drinking poison. You know, when they did the Samudra Manthan and the poison came out first, the halal poison, which was burning the whole earth planet, just the fumes from it, those devatas, they all called Bhagwan Shankar. You please come, only you can hold this poison in your throat. So he just drank it and he got his new upadhi, Nilakant, because his throat became even darker blue from having that poison. So Shri Krishna thought, better I just call Shankarji, he can come and drink the poison and I'll just drink the milk. So that's why, because Shankar is the destroyer. So he's like, although he's God, God doesn't get angry, but he represents that quality of destruction. So he made his brow like that because he was calling Shankar to come and take part in this Leela. And then what that little baby Krishna did, as he was drinking the milk, he also drank Putana's pran, her life force. Just drank it right out of her body. And in that she realized that my life is leaving my body. She wasn't able to keep herself in that form, as in that beautiful form as a beautiful woman. She resumed her normal form as a horrible, fearsome-looking Rakshasi, who was 6 kos in length, 12 miles, 19 kilometers tall. That big. And imagine little baby Krishna, and she's saying, Chor, Chor, let me go, let me go. And he's using his little tiny hands to squeeze her also. And he's got so much force, because we know who he is. And Putana just yells, screams, and dies, and falls over. And in the process, crushes 12 miles of forest of that nearby jungle. Luckily, she didn't fall on or crush any of the residents' homes and didn't fall on any people. Just fell and crushed all those trees for 12 miles, and then she landed on her back, and Krishna's just sitting on her chest. 6-day-old Krishna, just sitting up there looking so peaceful and relaxed, and hearing, her scream. When she screamed, it was like thunder that shook the whole area. Everybody was so frightened. What's going on? What's going on? Everybody came running and saw this huge Rakshasi lying there with red hair sticking out from her head in all directions. Her eyes looked like caves. They were so big. She was lying there like a mountain. And on top is little baby Krishna, smiling. So, of course, none of them had any idea what had happened, because none of those Brajwasis thought of Krishna as God. On one level, they all knew he was God, because they were all saints. And he himself had sent them from Golokabod in the divine world, telling them, I'm coming on the earth planet, you go. You'll be joining me there in those Leelas. So on one level, they knew who he was, but most of the time, in most of the Leelas, they would forget who he was. That same Yogamaya Shakti that I was telling you about yesterday, that through Yogamaya, Shri Krishna does all of these Leelas, all kinds of Leelas, but is always established in his own divine state. That same Yogamaya Shakti makes those saints forget that Krishna is God. So for all of them, they loved him as you would love your own soul, or even more than that, as you would love the soul of your soul, because that's who Krishna is. yet they weren't conscious of the fact that he was God. If they were conscious of that, then they would have, when Putana screamed and fell over and they saw Krishna on top of her, they would have just said, oh yeah, he's God, what's the big deal? Of course 6-day-old Krishna could kill Putana. No, they all ran. Oh, baby Krishna, what happened? How was he saved? It's so amazing. This Rakshasi got a hold of him and fell over and somehow he was saved. Oh, God must have saved him. Oh, thank you God, thank you God. They were praying like that. So this is how they loved Krishna, never thinking of him as God, yet loving him as their soul beloved, the way only a soul could love God. That deep love is only possible between a soul and God. So they had that divine love for Sri Krishna. But they didn't consciously think of him as God. So now what they had to do, they had this huge Rakshasi lying there. So all the Gwalbals, they took their saws and their hatchets and they chopped up this huge Rakshasi. And they took her far out of Gokul. And they made a big, huge pile of firewood and they put her on top of that. And then they lit it to cremate her. But the amazing thing was that when they burned Putana's body, it smelled like a sweet incense, like agarbatti. And when Nanda Baba was just reaching from, coming from Mathura, and they had felt the earth tremble when Putana had fallen on the ground, and they had heard her scream, and then they were coming. Now they came fast because they were so worried. What's going on? And then that fragrance came to them. And they were saying, this is odd. What is that beautiful smell? So then they reached and Nanda Baba went and heard the whole story. Of course, Yashoda had already picked up Krishna and was nursing him. And then when Nanda Baba came, he took Krishna in his arms. But there's a secret behind why that sweet fragrance came from the body of a demoness. There's a story behind who Putana was. Putana was there in one of Krishna's previous avatar when he came as Vaman. Vaman came as like a very short Brahmin boy. And he came in King Bali's yagya. And he asked for just 3 steps of land. And in that way he took back the whole earth, Swarg, and he made Bali his own. So Ratnamala was King Bali's daughter who was there. And she saw, imagine how cute Krishna must have looked in that form as Bhaman. So she saw him and thought, oh, it would be so nice if I got to have him like my own child and nurse him, holding him to my chest. She had that desire in her heart. And Krishna, of course, knew. Bhaman knew exactly what she was thinking. So in his mind, he made a decision that yes, you will get to come. When I come as Krishna, you will get to come and you will get to nurse me and hold me just like a mother. But she was in that demon life form. So she was born as a demon again, but she was graced to come and have that interaction with Krishna. So she came, you can say, in the guise of being sent by Kans and, with that motivation or that intent that she was going to try to kill Krishna, but in fact, the underlying reason for what she was doing was that she wanted to hold Krishna and nurse him. So she got the chance to do that. And with Krishna's divine touch, she became completely surrendered to him in her heart. So in fact, before she died, she had become totally surrendered to Krishna. So in that moment, her entire being became divine. Mind, senses, body, everything became divine. In that moment that she surrendered to Krishna and she experienced his divine bliss and divine love and then died and fell over. So when they burned her body, that's why her divine body gave off that sweet agarbatti-like fragrance. So this is the Putana Leela, which is described in Bhagwatam. And commenting on which, Vidurji, also speaking in the Bhagwatam, says to Uddhav, Aho vakiyam stanakalakutam jighansayapayadapyasadvi lebhe gatim dhatriuchitam tatonyam kam vadayanum sharanam rajema. Vidurji says that look at how gracious Krishna is. Look at how merciful he is. He graced someone like Putana who had come to him with the mansha of killing him, with the intention of killing him. Yet he looks for any reason to grace. So he said, well, I drank her milk like a son drinks his mother's milk. So that means she's like my mother. So when he was questioned that, why did you give Putana the divine abode when you knew that she had come with the intention to kill you and you know the intention of everybody, how did she get your divine abode? Krishna said, well, she's my mother. I drank her milk like a son drinks his mother's milk. So Janani Gatim. Bhagwatam says she got the gati, she got the attainment, the same as Krishna's mother would get. Because in fact, she did love him as a mother loves her son. So Krishna looks for any way to grace a soul. Therefore, if Krishna is willing to grace someone like Putana, O souls of the world, what are you waiting for? Why are you worried that he won't grace you? He'll grace anybody. This Leela happened when Shri Krishna was 6 days old, which is why even nowadays, in certain parts of India, especially in Braj, they celebrate babies Chati, the 6th day after they are born. This tradition is because of this Leela of Shri Krishna. So a couple of months later, when Shri Krishna was 3 months old, he had rolled over for the first time. You know, it takes a baby a while to develop the strength to be able to roll over. Karvat Lena. So that's a big thing, actually. You see, Nanda Baba and Yashoda, they had a very traditional religious family. They followed all the dharma of the Vedas. So Ved gives all these rules and regulations that people are supposed to follow because it encourages them to become good people. Like on the birthday of a child, when the child is born, why do they have to perform all the Jat Karma Sanskar? The main reason is not just to go through the rituals and honor the Vedas, but as part of that, they have to give a lot of charity. So Veda is finding ways to incorporate these good actions into people's lives. So you're supposed to give a certain amount of charity when your child is born. Then they have another ceremony and some rituals that are performed when the child rolls over for the first time. So again, they had called, you know, the Brahmins and all their neighbors, all the villagers, and they had a big celebration when Krishna rolled over for the first time. They gave away a lot of charity on that occasion as well. And then you have to do Abhishek actually of the baby on that day. So Mother Yashoda did Shri Krishna's Abhishek, and then she gave him proper bath. Then Krishna was looking very tired. His eyes were getting heavy. So she put him down to rest. And the place where he was resting was just kind of in the shade of a bullock cart. It was just sitting there. So the bullock cart was not attached to any bull or anything, but it was just sitting there, and under that shade, Krishna was resting. He fell asleep. And Mother Yashoda got busy with all of the guests, all of the neighbors, gopis, everybody. She was looking after all of them. So when Krishna woke up and he was hungry and he started crying for his mother, nobody heard him crying. So in his desperation, he kicked up his little feet, little 3-month-old chubby baby legs and feet. He kicked them up and hit that oxen cart. and with such a force that it not only lifted it up in the air, but it smashed the whole thing, the wheels, the axle, everything. And there was dahi and makhan and milk, pots of all of that all got smashed just from one little kick of his little feet. And the whole thing was upended and smashed. So again, everybody came running. What just happened? What is going on? Everybody hurried over, and some young boys, had actually seen it happen. So they were trying to tell their parents that little Krishna just kicked and the whole thing went up in the air and got smashed. And none of them would believe it. They just said, no, you must be mistaken in what you saw. So there's a story behind this Leela as well. There was a Rakshas, a demon named Utkach. And Utkach was the son of Hiranyaksh. Hiranyaksh was the brother of Hiranyakashipu, who was the father of Prahlad. So the son of Hiranyaksh, Utkach, he was huge and strong. And one time he made the mistake of going and he just trampled and smashed a bunch of trees in the garden of sage Lomash. So Sage Lomash cursed Utkach, that demon. He cursed him that you should now be without body. You should be bodiless. So he fell at his feet and begged forgiveness. And he said, okay, this is what will happen. During Vaivaswat Manvantar, which is our current Manvantar, we're in the 28th cycle of the 4 yugas in this Manvantar. So sometime in Vaivaswat Manvantar, you will receive the touch of Shri Krishna's lotus feet, and that will liberate you from this curse. So that Utkach had entered into that oxen cart, and Krishna knew he was there, so then he graced him by kicking him and releasing him from that bullock cart. Parikshit says too, as these Leelas are being told to him by Shukdev-ji, he says that these Leelas are so supremely purifying. He says, I love hearing them. Just by listening to these Leelas, an ordinary worldly person who may not be desiring God, if he starts listening to those Leelas, he'll start to desire to attain Shri Krishna. His heart may be bereft of bhakti, but by listening to these Leelas, he will develop bhakti in his heart for Shri Krishna, and he'll develop love in his heart for Krishna's saints. Just by listening to Krishna's Leelas. They're so madhur. So, oh my master, he says to Shukdev-ji, if you consider me to be worthy to hear it, please tell me more. So he said when Krishna was 1 year old, sometime later, there was another big event that happened. There was a Rakshas named Trinavar. Trinavar was another servant of Kans. So on this day, Shri Krishna made himself very heavy. Mother Yashoda was trying to carry around 1 year old Krishna, and he became so heavy that she couldn't keep him in her arms anymore. She was bewildered. What's going on? Why is Krishna getting so heavy? So she had to put him down on the ground outside, and she couldn't even lift him up from there. She was kind of confused as to what's going on, but she thought, okay. And she went about her household chores. So this Trinavar came in the form of a big whirlwind. And he was, of course, sent by Kans to come after Shri Krishna. And as he entered Gokul, he stirred up the dust and the sand so much. It wasn't a tornado. It's not like a tornado that smashes everything, but it was a strong enough wind and like a whirlwind type thing that it picked up a lot of dust and sand like a sandstorm. And it totally blinded all the residents of Gokul. In fact, it blocked out the sun. It was carrying so much sand and dust that it was like Gokul was submerged in darkness for almost an hour. And the wind was blowing so hard, and it was so loud with the sound of the wind. It was like everybody was just helpless. They couldn't see anything. It was totally dark. They couldn't hear anything. And Mother Yashoda was so worried because she had set Krishna down and now she couldn't find him. She couldn't even walk around. The wind was blowing so hard. She couldn't see anything or hear anything. So she was so distressed. She just fell down on the ground, crying. This went on for almost an hour, this dust storm. And what had happened was this Trinavar, he came in and with his whirlwind power, he picked up Shri Krishna in his whirlwind. And he was trying to take him away. But Shri Krishna was becoming heavier and heavier and heavier. And this great, powerful demon was having a harder and harder time holding on to Krishna. And not only that, but 1-year-old little Shri Krishna slowly put his hands around Trinavar's neck. And he started squeezing with his little baby 1-year-old hands. So Trinavar was running out of energy. For one, Krishna was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And for another, his hands were getting tighter and tighter and tighter around his neck. So the storm started to subside. And the Brajwasis saw that, oh, it's getting lighter, the wind is letting up. So as that was happening, the gopis could hear Mother Yashoda wailing. So they all came running. And Yashoda told them that, I had to put Krishna down and now I can't find him. What's going to happen? So in the end, after almost an hour, Trinavar could not hold up Shri Krishna anymore. And in fact, he died from the pressure of Krishna's hands. So he just fell over. And again, there was a huge sound as that massive demon fell in the countryside and just like actually fell on some rocks and his body just broke into pieces. And of course, little 1-year-old Krishna was just there on top of him, standing there, playing, having fun, just like nothing had happened. And some gopis actually saw, the ones who were closer, they saw, oh, this demon fell, and then they saw, Krishna's on top? What happened again? So they ran again and grabbed Krishna and brought him to Mother Yashoda. And then again, everybody was praying that, oh, thank you, God, for protecting our loving Shri Krishna. We don't want anything to happen. What is going on in this Braj? That so many amazing things are happening and Krishna's being put in such dangerous situations, yet somehow he's being saved. So they were all so amazed and so relieved. And this Trinavar was also graced by Shri Krishna. Trinavar previously was a king named Sahasraksh, who was cursed by none other than sage Durvasa, who cursed him because Sahasraksh was on the bank of river Narmada, and he was bathing and playing with his queens. And along came Durvasa Muni, and this king was so engrossed in his worldly pleasures, he didn't bother to give a proper pranam to Durvasa. So Durvasa cursed him. He says, I curse you to become a demon. So that king again fell at sage Durvasa's feet and he begged for forgiveness. So Durvasa Muni said, you will be released by the touch of Shri Krishna's body. So again, this king was released from his demon form by Shri Krishna, who arranged the whole thing, as you can tell, that he arranged that whole Leela just to grace that king. And in fact, when Shri Krishna kills any demon, he's not just killing, he's sending him to his divine abode. So he's gracing that demon. After this event, a great saint, Gargacharya, was sent by Vasudevji to Gokul. Gargacharya is the priest of the Yaduvansh. Yaduvansh means basically the dynasty or the family succession into which Shri Krishna was born. It's Vasudevji's family succession. So he asked him to go to Gokul and visit and do the Nam Karan Sanskar of Shri Krishna. It means it's another day where they have a festival where they give the baby a proper name. So Gargacharya went, and he's also a Jyotishi. He had all that knowledge of Jyotish, of the Vedas. So he went to the house and he met Nanda Baba privately. No one else knew that he had come. He met Nanda Baba in the Goshala, and he told him why he had come. Now Nanda Baba said, and they had this discussion, so Gargacharya said, you know, if I perform the Nam Karan Sanskar of your own child, everybody knows that I am the Purohit, I'm the family priest of Vasudev's family. So if they find out I performed the Nam Karan Sanskar, the naming ceremony of Krishna, then Kans is going to guess that Krishna is in fact Vasudeva and Devaki's 8th child. And he's going to know exactly where to come. So I probably shouldn't do it. So Nanda Baba said, no, we'll do it secretly, right here in the Goshala, because I really want you to do it. I won't even tell my own family. I won't even tell Yashoda. So Gargacharya was pleased and he said, okay, we'll do it. So first he told about Balaram actually. And he said that he's going to be called Ram because he gives so much pleasure, so much joy to all of those around him, all of his friends, all of his family. So he's called Ram. And he's also called Bal because of his amazing, tremendous strength. So we'll call him Balaram. And he's also called Sankarshan because he resolves people's disputes. He brings people who are having some kind of disharmony, he brings them together. So this is your elder son, Balaram or Sankarshan. And the younger one, the dark complexioned one, he will be called Krishna. He comes in every yuga on this earth planet. Gargacharya told him. So sometimes he comes, in previous yugas, he came as fair complexioned, Shweta Varna. He came as like a golden complexion. He also came in a reddish complexion, and this time he came in a very dark, bluish complexion. So this time we'll call him Krishna, which means the one who is dark complexioned. And the name Krishna also means, like the word akarshan, like having an attractive power. So Shri Krishna attracts the hearts of all. It means not only the souls, but even God Shiva, who came running on Krishna's birthday to have his darshan as well. He attracts Goddess Lakshmi's heart. He attracts all, whether it's a soul, whether it's a form, whether it's a devta, whether it's a form of divine god or goddess, Shri Krishna attracts everyone with his divine beauty and charm and love. So we call him Krishna. So Gargacharya performed all the required rituals and ceremonies, and he told that your son, he's going to save you from many harrowing situations, and he's going to become famous, and he's going to be beloved by all here in Braj. And then Gargacharya left. So in this way, Krishna was growing up like a normal boy, almost normal, you can say. Normal meaning that he performed all the Leelas like a boy growing up would do. Although he also did some amazing Leelas like killing Putana when he was 6 days old, killing or upending the bullock cart when he was 3 months old, killing Tirunavaru when he was 1 year old. Yet most of the time, to look physically at what Shri Krishna was doing, you wouldn't have seen anything out of the ordinary. What people felt, what those saints, those gopis, gwalbals, what they all felt when they saw Shri Krishna, that was extraordinary. Because they were qualified, they had divine eyes, and they experienced the unlimited love that Krishna was giving through his Leelas. So what they all felt was extraordinary. But what would have been seen just from physical eyes was like Krishna acting and behaving like a normal boy. Krishna and Balaram, when they started crawling, sometimes, this is told in Bhagwatam, that sometimes, you know how the boys, when they're, or any baby, when they get a bit of freedom, they want to do some exploring. So they might have been out crawling around, Balaram and Krishna, outside the house. So it says that sometimes that just some stranger would walk by, and seeing someone walk by, they would start following, crawling along behind, you know, going away from their house. But then they'd realize that, wait, I don't know this person. And they'd get scared, and they'd come crawling back to their house really fast. So just a simple Leela like that, you imagine it must have been so sweet for these Brajwasis to watch Krishna doing that. And just imagine, who's doing that Leela? Shri Krishna is Supreme God. And he is acting scared that, oh, I don't know this person. Let me run back to my house. When they got a little bit older than that, Balaram and Krishna, they used to go, still crawling, and if they'd see like a calf lying down maybe in the sun, they'd go up to that calf and grab the tail. Then the calf would get, you know, a little surprised that what's going on, and the calf would start running, but Krishna and Balaram would hold on, and they would get dragged all over wherever the calf was running. So you can imagine the gopis, they were just rolling on the ground, lot-pot ho jati thi, watching this. It was so amusing and so charming. Rohini and Yashoda would try to be doing their household chores, but they would be so distracted because Krishna and Balaram were so active. So they'd be trying to do something, and one or the other would always be getting into some kind of trouble. So they were always worried that, oh, Krishna's crawling over towards some animal with big horns. Oh, go grab him. Oh, they're crawling over towards some dog with sharp teeth. Oh, no, go and grab him. Oh, he's picking up some knife off the ground to play with. Oh, now he's crawling towards the peacocks. And the peacocks have sharp claws and sharp beaks. So they were always worried. Oh, now he's crawling towards some irrigation ditch that's full of water. So they were so active, even at that age when they were just crawling around. And when they became a little bit bigger, and they started walking, then the field of their activities, the field of their Leelas, expanded even more. In other words, they were able to grace more and more of the Brajwasis with their sweet mischief. The gopis were involved in all of this firsthand, seeing that sweet mischief that Krishna, Balaram, and their other friends of the same age, they used to roam around and do these sweet Leelas. So the gopis, you know, all of this was going on in their house or in their Goshala. Krishna and Balaram and the Gwalbals were coming. And Mother Yashoda would never get to know what is Krishna doing when he goes out. So the gopis, with the desire to see Krishna again, knowing that Krishna is there at Yashoda's house, so wouldn't it be nice to see Krishna, not only to see him, but what would his face look like if he hears us complaining to his mother about his mischief that he does? To see that scare, that kind of, you know what your children look like if, let's say, they're right there and some other adult comes and says, I saw your son doing this. Your son's face, what would it look like? Oh boy, I'm in trouble. So the gopis had a desire to see that kind of look on Krishna's face. So they decided, they all got together and they went to Yashoda's house. And they said, Yashoda, you have no idea what your son gets up to when he leaves the house. Let us tell you. Let us list the mischief that we've seen firsthand. One thing he does, he comes in our Goshala where the cows and the calves are kept. And you know, we let the calves go out when it's time to milk the cows, then we let the calves out. But other than that, we don't just let them out at any time. He comes in our Goshala just any old time and just opens the gates and lets all the calves go. And when we scold him, you know what he does? He laughs and laughs and laughs. That's it. He doesn't mind that we're scolding him. Your son is doing this. You know what else he does? He comes right into our house. He comes in our house where we keep our makhan, where we keep our dahi. And it's one thing if he himself comes and eats, until he's full. But he brings all his friends and he supplies all of them using our curd and our makhan. But not only that, he brings groups of monkeys and he feeds all of them as well. He distributes all of our butter, all of our curd to all of the monkeys. And even if he stopped there, it would be fine. But you know what? When he's so full, he can't eat anymore. And all of his friends are so full, they can't eat anymore. And even the monkeys are so full, they can't eat anymore. He doesn't stop there. He takes a stick, and if there's more butter and curd left, he just breaks all the pots and then runs out. Your son is doing this. Yashoda's just listening and they're watching. Krishna is kind of hiding behind Yashoda. He's there, but he's hiding himself behind her legs. And his face is getting worried that I really might get in trouble today. My mother might punish me for all of this. But the gopis weren't done yet. They said, if he comes in our house and he doesn't find what he's looking for, then he'll just go in where our children are sleeping and he'll just do something to make them cry and then run out of the house. So then we hear all our children are crying and we don't know what happened. And then we realize Krishna came in and was pinching them or doing something. And if we put the pots up high in our house in some kind of rope basket, and then, he has a couple of different ways. Your son is so adept at stealing. Maybe he'll take some stools and he'll pile one stool on another and then he'll climb on that and he'll lift it down. Or maybe he'll put a stool on top of the ukal and he'll stand on that. Or he'll stand on one of his friend's shoulders. Or if he can't reach it, you know what they do? They take a stick, and let's say there's many, maybe there's 10 or 20 things hanging and they don't know, which one do we want to get? He'll just poke a hole in it and see what comes out. And then say, oh, it's milk coming out of that one. No, we don't want milk. We'll poke a hole in that one. Oh yeah, that one's butter. So then they'll climb up and bring that one down. So he does all of this mischief. He comes right in our houses and does that, makes a big mess. But you know how he acts if we call him on it, if we try to scold him or put him in his place? He acts like he's the boss and we're the thief. He has no shame whatsoever. So Yashoda, we've come here today to tell you about all of these things your son is doing and has been doing, and you have no idea. So Yashoda looked at Krishna's face, and Krishna was looking so innocent and so scared at the same time. Yashoda's heart just melted looking at Krishna's face that, let alone, never mind scolding him, she couldn't even bring herself to believe that he could ever do such a thing. So she just said, Gopis, I love you all, but I know that my son could never do such a thing. And then she picked up Krishna and went in the house. So that's all the gopis wanted anyway, was to get that vision of Krishna, young, innocent Krishna, feeling a little bit scared that, am I going to get in trouble today? So this is where we'll leave the Leelas today, but tomorrow we'll find out a time when Krishna really did get caught red-handed and what Mother Yashoda did with him on that day. So we'll finish today by singing a beautiful Leela that describes when Krishna was first learning to walk. He could crawl, but he was just learning to walk, and he was having some trouble getting over the door sill, the sill on the door. He couldn't make it over. And Mother Yashoda was watching the whole thing. So can we distribute? Yes. Thank you. Tumupi, tumupi. बोलो कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय।